if you're a theist, if you believe that God might exist or does exist, you're open to two types of causes. You're open to a natural cause or a non-natural, an intelligent cause, right? But if you're an atheist, you've ruled out intelligent causes before you look at the evidence.
I have a specific apologetics question for you. When I'm evangelizing on campus, I often get asked questions about the science versus faith kind of questions.
Yeah.
I know the Bible's not true because it conflicts with the ideas around the Big Bang and evolution. I feel a little morally torn. I understand that the first 3 chapters of Genesis are poetry, and some Christians take that to say that it's completely symbolic. And I know other Christians take it to say, no, this is more literal. We should take the creation story literally. And I want to be able to tell this atheist that I'm talking to that, there's Christians that believe that in evolution and the Big Bang, and they believe it's poetry. But I also don't personally think that's true. I was just wondering, how do you handle this conversation? Should I even give up on that?
I would simply ask the question, do you believe the universe had a beginning? And see what they say. Because most atheists and non-atheists will admit, yes, the universe had a beginning. If the universe had a beginning, if space-time and matter had a beginning, what could have caused space-time and matter to have a beginning? Only something that transcends space-time and matter. In other words, the cause must be spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful to create the universe out of nothing, personal in order to choose to create, because to go from a state of nothingness to a state of creation, someone had to make a choice, and only persons can make choices. The cause would also have to be intelligent to have a mind to make a choice. And so I always ask audiences, I say, when you think about a spaceless, timeless, immaterial, powerful, personal, intelligent cause, who do you think of? God. And they'll say, well, how do you know it's the Christian God? Because it could be Allah or some other God at this point. And the answer is, I don't know it's the Christian God. You don't get all the way to Jesus from what we call the cosmological argument. It could be the Christian God. Now, if you then look at evidence for the resurrection of Jesus, which we spend a lot of time on in the book, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist over there, and we realize Jesus did rise from the dead, then we can say that the same being that walked out of the tomb 1,992 years ago is the same being in whose divine nature created the universe out of nothing. You don't get there with the one argument, but you get a being which could be the God of the Bible. And if they're going to challenge the question or challenge the claim that the universe had a beginning, I might not even use a scientific argument. I may use what's called the Kalam cosmological argument and ask them, if there were an infinite number of days before today, would today ever arrive? What's the answer? I know this can give you intellectual constipation if you think about it. But no, today would never arrive, because you'd never get to this day, because if there's an infinite number of days before today, you'd always have to live another day before you got to this day. But today is here, so there can only be a finite number of days before today, which means time must have had a beginning, which means whatever created time must be outside of time. And if you're outside of time and you don't have a beginning, do you have a cause? No. So the question, who made God, makes no sense, because God is the unmade creator. He's the uncreated creator. He's outside of time. There has to be an uncaused first cause. Turns out to be the uncaused first cause really does appear to be the God of the Bible. And the Bible gets it right. It says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Okay? Now, Neil has a little book on his table called Who is Agent X, which gets into some more technical details of that argument. So you can get the atheist book or that book or both if you want to go further. But I might also say one other thing about science and faith. Maybe something you can say to this man is, you could ask him, what is science, and see if he can define it. Because really, all science is a search for causes. We're trying to find what particular cause caused a particular effect. And if he says, well, science says this or science says that, you need to stop him and say, no, science doesn't say anything. Scientists say things. Right? Because all data needs to be gathered and all data needs to be interpreted. And who does that? Scientists do that. And sometimes scientists allow their philosophical biases to control how they interpret the data. For example, if you're an atheist Well, let me back up. If you're a theist, if you believe that God might exist or does exist, you're open to two types of causes. You're open to a natural cause or a non-natural, an intelligent cause, right? But if you're an atheist, you've ruled out intelligent causes before you look at the evidence. So no matter what effect you look at, the only game in town, the only possibility due to your philosophy to be that cause is a natural cause. You say it's got to be a natural cause. Is that a result of the evidence or a result of the philosophical presupposition that you have where you've ruled out the only other alternative? Yeah, so too often it's philosophy, or people say their science is really just materialistic philosophy that is sugar-coated with the word science. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
All right, thank you.